Hello class, I am willing to bet 100% that every single one of you are confused on challenge activity 2.15. In fact, I actually have it on my list to try to get it removed. But that's not going to stop us from being tough, rolling up our sleeves and getting in there and figuring it out together. All right, so let's just hop straight into it. The reason why I don't like challenge activity 2.15 is because you kind of have to have an understanding of what a function is. Now, if you were to peek into Zybooks, you would realize we don't start really learning what functions are until week 8 and 9. It takes 2 weeks in which we go through them all. So, I don't want you to beat yourself up if you don't understand this, but what a great opportunity to not understand something and just trust pseudocode, because that's actually what's going to happen in the real world. One of these days, someone's going to do all the thinking and all the problem for you and say, hey, don't worry about it. Here's the instructions. Just go do it. So let's do that together. So first thing I'm going to do is declare that I need a float x. And actually, since I'm getting lazy, I'm going to go ahead and hit copy, paste. We'll call this y, paste, and we'll call this z. Then I'm going to say x equals get next input, right? Because remember, we're practicing following along with pseudocode. So even though I'm not highlighting every line and going back and forth because I'm trying to go fast and I'm trying not to take too much of your time here, but read the pseudocode and type. So I'm going to say y equals get next input, z equals get next input. Sorry, the reason why I was hesitating there was because I just realized a lot of these values here, the pseudocode doesn't actually tell you to set them from get next input. So that's got to be updated. So if you're following along the pseudo copy, or if you're following along the pseudo document, you're going to get lost. And welcome to the video where you just figured that out. I apologize. All right. So now we're going to say put raise to power. Oops, let me make sure I don't know why I hold that shift key too long. Put raise to power, and then we're going to say x comma y close parentheses to output. Now, even though I said we don't learn functions until later on in the course, there are participation activities before this that required you to kind of step through and understand how you could pass in a value, and it kind of exposes you to functions, and I think they only do it just enough so you could solve this problem, but I still think it needs to be removed, but bear with me. Sorry, I was ranting. Okay, put, and we're going to put a space to output. Now, what we're doing here in the instructions, it says the first time output the result of x and y. Then the next time we're going to say, well, we're going to use one of those values again. We're going to use x, but rather than passing in y, we're going to pass in another function. And this is where it gets kind of confusing. But I'm going to write it just like how this is here. I'm going to copy this, paste it in here. So we still have raised to the power, and you pass in two values. What you're supposed to know, and you really won't know this until week 8 or 9, and you probably won't even realize it until you're in an object-oriented class, is that rather than y, on the second time, we're going to pass this whole thing in again. So rather than y, we're going to say raise to power, open and close parentheses, and we're going to say y, comma, space, z to output. Then we're going to put a space to output. Then we're going to do another function that was explained to us in the participation activities where we say put value to output. I mean, for those of you who are super curious and you don't want to wait until we get to week 8, 9, just know that you can build a function and you give a function a name. So just like you give a variable a name, somewhere they built a function called absolute value, and that absolute value is going to accept a value, and what it's going to do is return a value back to you. So when I call the function absolute value, I'm going to pass in the value of x, and it's going to return back to me x, but in its absolute value form. If it doesn't make sense, bookmark this video, and I promise you, come week 10 or 8, 9, probably 10, after you get through those weeks, you'll look back and be like, oh, yeah, that question probably shouldn't have been asked of us in week 2. But it's okay, because we don't complain. Well, I like to complain. It makes me feel better. All right, now we're going to be asked to put square root, open parentheses, raise to power x times y comma z. Oh my gosh, this is an awful application for you guys, but I wanted to type it out and share this video with you because even though you have the pseudocode, it still might not make sense interpreting the pseudocode, because if you don't know what functions are, how are you supposed to interpret pseudocode and convert it into code that's going to work if you don't even understand it? But let's see, I got an error. So join the club. We all get errors. Even us working as professionals, your professor gets errors. A lot of them are typing errors. Expected output, put something to output. So what do I have wrong here? Let's see, try again. Put, what does that tell me to do? So put raise to power x comma y to, there it is. If you spell output wrong, the error message is actually not really that helpful. You're just going to have to memorize that whenever it tells you put string to output. You know, week 9, you're going to be an expert at this. You're going to get that and realize, oh, I spelled output wrong. O-U-T, P-U-T. Did I do that right? O-U-T, P-U-T. Yep. Check. Ah, I still got it wrong because I spelled it wrong over here too. Okay. Line 14. O-U-T. Check. Boom. No idea what the heck we just did, but we figured it out. So make this challenge activity. If you get nothing out of this challenge activity, just let it be that you get good practice going from your pseudocode, stuff you might not understand, and actually put it into code, and then verifying that the output matches what was expected. I appreciate you sticking with me and getting through all these challenge activities done this week. I think my voice isn't going to last much longer, but that's okay because I'm going to feel good and I'm going to sleep well knowing that you got through 2 weeks of this course, which were real difficult, and you're doing really well. Pat yourself on the back. Many people would have honestly dropped this class by now, but you didn't because you're awesome, and we're going to stick together and we're going to do it together. Take care.